Hello everyone. Welcome to my webinar, 3 Steps to Automatic Weight Loss. If it weren't for you being here, I'd be talking to myself, so thank you for joining me. I've got some questions for you. Would you like to be a healthy weight without having to work hard at it and without giving up the food you love? Would you like to eat what you want to eat, enjoy your food, never be hungry and still lose weight, and then keep it off easily? Would you like to find out how you can do that? Well, you're in the right place, because that's exactly what we're going to do in this webinar, because I've got a solution which the food and diet industry don't want you to know. In fact, between us, we could put them out of business. We're going to see why, categorically, diets simply don't work. They're dangerous. They have you piling on the weight, don't they? Time and time again. I don't want you to ever diet again. There's a much better way, and this way actually works. There's a lot of information I want you to know to counteract all the misinformation and downright lies put about by the food industry and the diet industry. It's confusing the hell out of us. I mean, how are you supposed to know how to take care of yourself when you're bombarded all the time with lies masquerading as advice? Honestly, it makes me so mad, I finally snapped and decided to put this webinar together for you. So if I get on my high horse, you'll understand why. And you might be amused to know that this webinar was originally 2.5 hours long. I had so much to say, it would have taken that long to get through it. You'll be relieved to know that you won't be here that long. But rest assured, I'll be sharing the other stuff in the future because I'm so fed up with the damage that's being done to our health. And with your help, I intend to do something about it. Oh, and stay with me to the end, because I'll be sending you a free gift as a thank you for joining us and to kickstart the weight loss process. What it is a secret for now. If I tell you, I'd have to kill you. But it's only for those who are still here at the end, so make sure you stay with us. Don't go anywhere. You're already in the right place. But before we go any further, let me tell you a little more about myself, because you need to know why I can help you. My name is Lisette Offley. Maybe we've met. For 20 years, I taught in mainstream schools in the UK. The approach I've always taken is to take the information and learning that I intend to give, deconstruct it, to understand the purpose of it, take the elements and create strategies, systems, processes, to take people step by step towards the understanding and skill they need to achieve their goal. I've done that with a myriad of things. You may have heard of Genius Material, a complete online program to guarantee exam success. Same thing. Work out what people need and give it to them step by step so they simply cannot fail. I'm known as the head fixer. I teach you how to make sound choices, clever choices, and tune into your brain power. I help people get their head round challenges, so when they've been stuck and unable to move forward up until now, I can help them let go of whatever's in the way and finally succeed. It works with just about everything from letting go of stress and anxiety, phobias, fears, unwanted behaviours and emotions, and also difficult medical conditions that doctors can't help with. Like everyone else, I've had some personal challenges in my life. Sometimes life gets very hard, doesn't it? And it's all you can do to get through it. But have you noticed how some people seem more able to cope with difficult stuff going on in their lives, and other people seem to give up? Well, there was one particular period of my life, a long time ago now, where I was struggling so much that I felt I had to do something, anything, to survive the experience. I began a journey of self-development and emotional intelligence. One thing led to another, and also to extensive training and experience, and eventually helping other people understand how their minds work, how to deal with other people's emotions, what their own feelings are for, how to take care of their needs and make sound choices while supporting others to do the same. And that's how I got the nickname of the head fixer. I help people sort themselves out and get the results they want. And for the skeptics out there, I know it can be difficult when you're right in the middle of a problem that just won't go away, to believe that this too shall pass. But really, you know, with the right tools, understanding and attitude, you can move mountains. And that's why some people seem to get through difficult patches so much more easily. And look, if they can do it, so can you. Talking of skeptics, they don't come much more cynical than himself. This is Nige, my best friend and husband. Even he acknowledges that you have a lot more power than you might at first realise. One of the biggest aha moments is recognising that we have a choice. You can develop the skills to design your life the way you want it. Yeah, it takes a bit of effort, of course it does. Or you can pretend that there's nothing you can do about it and suffer the consequences. And all the while you're pretending, other people are seeing the light and having a much better time of it. So quite honestly, I'd rather see what I can do to have the life I want. And since 2004, I've been working in the brief therapy field to help other people do the same thing. Brief therapy? That might be a phrase you've not heard of before, but it's long been known that both counselling and psychotherapy can take months or years and can re-traumatise people too. And I'm not having that. I like to get straight to the nub of the problem and give people the one thing they need that makes the biggest difference to them. Why would you take months or years to do that when you can often do it in a moment? So whether using my teaching skills or wearing my therapy hat, I'm quick now at spotting exactly where in a person's thinking and behaviour they're going wrong. That is, if they're to achieve their goals. And then, of course, it makes it easy for me to give them exactly what they need to get them back on the right path. As for weight loss, you might ask, what do I really know about the frustration and difficulty of losing weight, since I don't seem to have a weight problem myself? To answer that, I'll say two things. One is, I don't need to be a smoker to help someone find a better way to stay calm and in control. I don't need to have failed an exam to know what someone needs to do to retain information. I don't need to have had IBS myself to help someone let go of it. The other thing is that I am a woman of a certain age, and one day my periods will stop, and that will be that. Especially because I'm in good health otherwise, it took me ages to realise what was going on. My clothes were feeling tighter, and I was feeling a bit dumpy and unpleasant. I couldn't understand why I was weighing about, 3/4 of a stone or so heavier than I was the last time I weighed myself, some year or two earlier. How on earth, when my activity level and eating habits hadn't changed, had I managed to put on weight? Like I said, it was a long time before I twigged that it was my hormones that were changing. And now that I began to look into it, it seems that 3/4 of a stone or so is classic textbook stuff. The problem for me is that I'm quite a small person, and that extra 9 or 10 pounds is a lot of extra weight on me. No wonder my clothes were uncomfortable, and no wonder I was unhappy about it. Once I realised what was happening, I applied the thinking and principles I'm going to tell you about in this webinar, and I got my weight back down to where it should be while enjoying my food every bit as much as I've always done. And by the way, I've always eaten like a horse. There was no suffering on my part. No middle-aged woman was harmed in the process. And you'll probably be able to relate to this. Those 9 or 10 pounds are like the last few pounds people often find difficult taking off. You know, it's much easier to lose the weight when you've got a lot to lose, and as you come down towards your ideal weight, it becomes more and more difficult. Well, I was already at the more and more difficult stage, and still I was able to make it happen by using the principles I'm going to share with you here. I was able to help myself because I knew what was happening finally, and why. And then I was able to use my mind to automatically help me make the minimal changes necessary to make the difference I needed. Of course, my training qualifications and experience helped. Of course they did. Look at some of my certificates here. I've got a ridiculous number of letters after my name. But we all know it's not what you've got, it's what you do with what you've got that counts. The methods I use to help people really work, and quickly. I don't just see people one-to-one. And, by the way, they've come from all corners of the country too. But I've also run group workshops. I've also created plenty of comprehensive do-it-yourself programs. They're being used by countless numbers of people around the world, including teenagers, grandparents, and corporate businesses too. I can't tell you how gratifying it is to get a spontaneous testimonial and a thank you from someone, say, in America, Europe, or Australia, or even recently in the Middle East. Knowing that I've helped to nudge them in a better direction. It's a great feeling. This stuff really works. I've helped scores of people with emotional difficulties, behavioural problems, and also difficult medical conditions I mentioned earlier. It never ceases to amaze me what's possible. I've watched clients let go of anorexia, psychogenic vomiting, gastrointestinal reflux disease, focal dystonia, Tourette's, ME, and plenty of other medical conditions I hadn't even heard of before meeting the client. Because it's a relatively simple thing to help the mind find a better solution, so in the process it can let go of the condition it no longer needs. And what's important to you about this is that it's the same mechanism holding your weight problem in place. The key to all of this is that no matter what a person needs help with, the process itself is always the same. And I'll tell you what that is as we go along. So what you need to know is, through my company Sounds Positive, since 2004, I've helped countless numbers of people lose weight quickly and easily, while still eating the food they love, feeling free to enjoy their lives and while feeling great about themselves. I've done it a variety of ways. I've worked one-to-one with people, I've run weight loss workshops, and I've got a variety of online programs. I love it when clients let me know how well they're doing, with a new mindset and new habits that work. The best thing is when they express surprise that the changes happened all by themselves. You know, typically they say something like this particular workshop participant who said, "I've been meaning to try fruit teas for ages, but I've done nothing about it until this week. I don't know why I remembered this time, but after I left your weight loss workshop and I was in the supermarket doing the family shop, I picked up a couple of variety packs of tea so I could try some different flavours. They were quite nice and I enjoyed most of them. Not lemon and ginger though, and definitely not raspberry, yeah. But a funny thing. Remember I was complaining that if it wasn't for chocolate I'd have a much easier time losing weight? Well, you'll never guess what. I've got through this last week only having had a couple of small chunks, not several packets as I normally do. But I've only just realised. It hadn't occurred to me before now. I wasn't thinking about chocolate, and I certainly didn't miss it. I enjoyed eating it, but somehow I ate less of it. Wow! I feel really great. This mind stuff works. I get stories like that all the time. Something that a person had found themselves doing without thinking about it, but something that helped them towards their weight loss goal. You see, your mind already knows how to do stuff. Like let go of unnecessary weight, or a behaviour, or a habit, or unwanted emotion, or even a medical problem. You've just got to know how to direct your mind to find a better solution so it automatically lets go of the thing you don't want and have no need of. I've seen it time and time again. And it's great. I love that look of amazement on the client's face. It makes me giggle sometimes. And I'd love that for you too. So I hope that's given you an idea of who I am and how I got here to this webinar. On that note, let's get on with the show. What do you think causes most people to put on weight? Lack of accurate information. We inadvertently do things which are counterproductive to our staying a healthy weight. We're confused about what we're supposed to do. Busy, stressful lives and using food to feel better, to change state and manage our emotions. Images of impossibly perfect, famous people in the media. It can make us focus on our bodies in an unhealthy way. Because we're unable to achieve the same fashionable looks, we often give up looking after ourselves altogether or console ourselves by eating more. Evolution? We're hardwired to crave high-fat, high-sugar food and overeat while the food is available. I'm sure that was useful when we lived in caves. Of course, in today's world, our food is always available, but those cravings don't stop, do they? Restaurant food? Approximately a third of all calories come from eating in restaurants. We eat out far more frequently than we used to. The food is often served in larger portions. It has more calories in it. And we'll eat all 3 courses. That's far more food than we would normally eat in one sitting. Processed food? The more processed food we eat, the more we're asking of our bodies to cope. It's only got its natural processes to cope with chemicals in processed stuff. It's simply not designed to deal with it. Snacking? We snack an average of 5 times between meals because food is so readily available. Not understanding what goes on in the unconscious mind? Do you know why you promise yourself you do one thing and then find yourself doing something else? So what causes people to put on weight? Yeah, you guessed it. All of the above. So, If you're fed up with yo-yo dieting and slow and steady weight gain, if up until now, no matter what you've done, you just can't seem to lose the weight you've put on, if you're still trying to make sense of the information on the packets at the supermarket, if you're sick of counting points or adding up calories, if you feel defeated by the constant disappointment and frustration, if the thought of weighing yourself in front of other people leaves you cold, and being made to feel like a naughty girl at weight loss classes, if you're fed up of wasting money on diet products, too ashamed to climb into a bikini on the beach, or too self-conscious to enjoy a yoga class, if you're afraid people are scrutinizing what you put on your plate at parties, if you've been warned by your doctor to lose weight, or worse, have had a recent health scare, attributed at least in part to your weight, then I get it. I really get it. It's time to make a change and put all those horrible feelings behind you. You're in the right place. Oh, and by the way, maybe like me, you've been quite frustrated and angry when other people, you know the ones, the skinny ones, who don't have a weight problem, say rather glibly, it's a simple equation, food in, energy out. You should eat less and exercise more. They make it sound so simple, but the more I hear them talking like this, the more cross I get. If it were that easy, we wouldn't have a problem in the first place. So the next time someone says that to you, you can tell them that recent research at the prestigious Yale University in America has revealed that obesity is a behavioural problem. Just like their behaviour causing you a problem by making you feel uncomfortable by bringing it up. In all seriousness, I know how hard you've tried to lose weight, but tragically diets simply don't work for 84% of people. Not that people flogging weight loss products will tell you that. They're making a fortune, by the way. What a great business to be in. Sell people the solution, wait for them to make the problem worse, then flog them another solution. Brilliant. I don't know how they sleep at night, mind. I can't tell you how angry I get knowing that 70% of dieters end up heavier than when they started. Have you found that each time you diet you end up heavier? So dieting's not the answer, is it? But what on earth are you supposed to do? It would seem that the solution is a well-kept secret because right across the globe, from the poorest to the most affluent societies, obesity is becoming a major problem. So in this webinar we're going to look at some little tweaks you can do that'll make the biggest difference. You've heard of the 80-20 rule, right? 20% of your carpet gets 80% of the wear and tear. 20% of your customers give you 80% of your business. 20% of your friends give you 80% of your headaches. It's called Pareto's Principle. And we're going to look at what 20% change you could make in your behaviour, which would make 80% difference to your weight loss success. So, what's the problem then? Well, the problem of obesity has tripled over the last 20 years. Most adults in the UK, USA and Australia are overweight now. Get this, if you're overweight, you're expected to die 9 years early too. Feeling comfortable? I'm not. It's reckoned that each 1st of January sees about 2.6 million people starting diets. It's also estimated that 5 days later, 92% will have given up. There's been a marked increase in obesity rates over the past 8 years in the UK. Maybe it's because in Britain we spend 90% of our food budget on processed foods. We're eating less home-cooked food and more convenience food. We're eating more takeaways than ever before. We're eating later in the day, which means we don't digest our food properly. We grab a sandwich on the run rather than sit down, relax and eat something nutritious. Would you believe malnourishment is a rising problem which costs the NHS here in the UK £7.3 billion a year? And it's not just adults. Nearly 10% of 4 to 5-year-olds are obese. And it's not just in the UK either. In just the last 40 years or so, obesity has become the biggest threat to health, not just in the developed world, but increasingly in the poorest areas too. There are 30% more obese people than there are starving people on the planet. That's a bit of an eye-opener, isn't it? In America, Boeing is re-engineering its aircraft designs to accommodate bigger passengers and, of course, the higher fuel costs resulting from the heavier load. In 2003, a tour boat called the Ethan Allen capsized in New York because while it was certified to carry 48 passengers, the people on board were 25% heavier than the 140 pounds allowed per person in the calculation the certificate was based on. Obesity is linked with high blood pressure, diabetes, renal failure, arthritis, breathing problems, premature birth, and a whole gamut of cancers, including cancer of the colon, breast, gallbladder, and the uterus. And the World Health Organization predicts a global cancer surge fueled by alcohol, smoking and obesity. Oh, and how sad's this? Surgeons are struggling to cope with the demand for lap-band stomach operations for obese children. Obesity is caused by eating too much and moving too little. Isn't it? No, it bloomin' well isn't. There's more to it than that. No wonder you're failing to get on top of your weight issues. You might be interested to know that there isn't a single study that demonstrates that exercise alone causes significant weight loss. Did you know that 60% of your energy gets used up just lying on a couch all day, watching TV? Okay, so the other 40% might be a problem. It is true that exercise is crucial for health and longevity. It's essential to maintain and grow muscle and keep your bones strong. It keeps the hormone cortisol in check and so helps keep the weight off your tummy. It also keeps you upbeat and positive, and as you'll see, all of these things will help you achieve your weight loss goals. But you've got to understand the big picture and take no notice of people who don't. And it's not just that either, it's just not that simple. A calorie isn't a calorie. The body deals differently with different sorts of food. It's much quicker to turn some food into fat than others, so if you're trying to lose weight and stay healthy, knowing what's what will speed up your success. And I don't know about you, but I'm becoming more and more short-tempered with people who insist that this is all there is to it. Maybe that's all there is to it for them, but most of us need better information. And in case you're wondering, I won't be suggesting dieting, although we've all done it, haven't we? It's so tempting to cut your calorie intake and go on a diet, especially when the new diet is being flogged to you as the latest breakthrough. But how many of us can say that a diet has actually worked? The problem with dieting is that your body knows you're starving it and goes into panic mode to keep you alive. And that means doing everything it can to hold on to the weight you've got to stop you starving yourself anymore. Ever wondered where cravings come from? There you go. Your very clever body will do whatever it takes to get you to eat again. It's no good trying to beat your system, you have to work with it. And that doesn't mean slimming drugs either. I don't know about you, but the side effects ranging from embarrassing gastrointestinal events, now there's a euphemism if ever I heard one, to heart attacks and strokes. Doesn't really seem like a recipe for long-term success to me. There really are 3 steps, just 3 simple steps to achieving the weight loss you've wanted for so long. So let's go through them one at a time. Step 1, filter out the noise. Information is all around us. We're bombarded with the stuff all the time, from the moment we wake up until the moment we fall asleep, every single day. Not only is it exhausting, but most of it consists of marketing messages by companies who have something to gain. Either that or it's rubbish, total tosh put about by all and sundry, just because they can. Here's a good example. How many times have we been sold the idea that we have to cut calories and eat less fat? What's that advice based on, do you know? I bet you don't know that in 1991, 20,000 people were put on a low-fat diet. Each day they ate about 360 fewer calories than before the trial, and they kept that up for nearly 8 years. At the end of those 8 years, they weighed on average only 2 pounds less than before they started. Their waist measurements actually increased. There's an enormous amount of misinformation out there, especially about health and weight loss. Misinformation or plain ignorance touted as fact. Remember Ronald Reagan in 1983 famously declaring tomato ketchup a vegetable? I wonder who fell for that. So the first thing we need to do is filter out the crap and start paying attention to what science is able to tell us. So let's start with our evolution. In other words, how we got here. Physiologically, we're the same as we were 10,000 years ago when we lived in caves. Obviously, our environment and our lifestyles have changed enormously, but we still have the same physiology to work with. And maybe then, what gave us the evolutionary advantage all those years ago isn't so advantageous today, and yet it will take hundreds of thousands of years for our biology to adapt and change to our new circumstances, which will have changed again. You might say then that physiologically we're always going to be catching up, and our best bet therefore for adapting to our changing environment is to change our behaviour and attitude. The question is how? And don't worry, we'll come to that. Our brains are hardwired to help us automatically move towards pleasure and away from pain. It's the job of the automatic, unconscious part of our brain to help us make sense of the world and to keep us safe. You don't have to think about removing your hand from the hot stove, it happens automatically. you move away from the pain. A part of your brain takes care of it long before you're conscious of your hand burning. This is the part of the brain we call the unconscious, simply because it's working in the background all by itself without your conscious awareness. The opposite is also true. Because we've evolved to enjoy our food, we move towards the pleasure of eating, and therefore give ourselves the fuel we need. Thousands of years ago, when food was scarce, people had to go out and find food, so they'd eat as much as they could and when they could, and they wouldn't know when they would be able to eat next. It made perfect sense to gorge themselves on high-calorie food whenever possible, and in particular high-fat, high-sugar food. Their survival depended on being able to lay down fat when food was plentiful and mobilize these fat stores when it wasn't. Naturally, it was important for women to store fat even more easily than men in order to support a developing baby in the womb no matter what. Food is so plentiful now that it's possible for us to stuff ourselves silly from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, and some of us indeed do. Oh dear. Let's not forget that the food itself available now is highly processed too. Most of what we eat you wouldn't get in nature. Ice cream? Hamburger? You show me a cheesecake tree and I'll change my tune. So if we're saying that we're the same as our ancestors and we have the same drives and needs, and that it's only our circumstances that have changed, in other words our environment, perhaps we should be asking ourselves a different question. How come not everyone is overweight? Well, your clever body has a mechanism to tell you when to eat and when to stop eating. When your body needs to refuel, the hormone ghrelin lets you know. You might get a rumbling tummy and a distinct feeling of hunger which drives you towards finding something to eat. But when your body has received enough fuel, it releases leptin, which tells you to stop eating. It does this by making you not want to eat anymore, by taking you away from the pain and discomfort of overeating. The moment you detect that full feeling, you just don't want to eat anymore. That's a theory, anyway. You see, the problem is, while this beautifully balanced system might have worked thousands of years ago when food was scarce, but was natural, no supermarkets in those days, things are simply not the same today. Can you honestly say that you stop eating when you feel full? I don't. And neither do most overweight people either. We'll come back to a reason for this later, but right now let's look at a modern-day challenge. One of the biggest culprits messing up our natural hormone balance is processed foods. Obviously, processed foods are not found in nature. You can't send the men out of the cave with their bows and arrows and expect them to come back with a family pack of pork pies. Have you ever checked the packaging of food you buy in the supermarket to try and work out what's in it? Here's a perfectly innocent tin of baked beans, or is it? Look at the sugar. Can you see that? 8 grams, that's the equivalent of more than 2 teaspoons of sugar. Of course, sugar improves the shelf life, and Waitrose, just like everyone else, has to consider its bottom line. No pun intended. And what the heck is modified maize starch? It's processed is what it is. It doesn't occur naturally in nature, and so our bodies at the very least have to work much harder to get it out of the body. That is, if it knows what to do with it at all. And that's just a perfectly innocent can of baked beans. Your body doesn't want this stuff, but if you stick it in your mouth and swallow it, your body has to do something with it and will try to limit the damage done by it. The most valuable part of your body is in your head and abdomen. After all, you could manage without an arm or indeed a leg or two, but try chopping someone's head off and see how they get on. So when you put foreign stuff in your body, it might well attempt to store it out of harm's way in fat around your hips. It tries to wrap it up, contain it, and send it far enough away from your vital organs to do the least amount of harm. And what about your brain? We've got receptors on the surface of brain cells which respond to the neurotransmitter glutamate. That's fine and dandy, but neuroscientists have been warning us for years that monosodium glutamate, or MSG, added to food because it's cheap and makes it taste good, acts on those receptors and damages and even kills those brain cells. Oh my God. This is my favourite condiment. I got hooked on Maggi when we lived in Germany when I was a kid. This isn't a dinky bottle, guys. It's a giant 1 kilogram bottle. But look at the label. There's a horror story right there. I feel as though I should be hiding behind the settee and peeping over the top to read it. MSG is often found in crackers, soup, meat, and famously in Chinese cooking, and believe it or not, baby formula milk. It's also thought to be a contributor to the global obesity epidemic, although quite frankly, when you consider what it's doing to our brain cells, that seems to be the least of our problems. And I don't even want to look at the other ingredients. Notice the bottle boasts that it's virtually fat and saturated fat-free. Big deal! Talking of fat, neuroscientists have known for some time that processed food, and in particular food that has a 50-50 mix of fat to sugar, is so tasty that we disregard those two hormones, ghrelin and leptin, that tell us when to eat and when to stop. Are you ready for this? Be afraid, be very afraid. It seems that certain foods completely override that safety mechanism and instead triggers exactly the same response as in drug addicts who are hooked on hard drugs. Let me say that again. Some food triggers the same response in our brains as hard drugs. That means we keep seeking pleasure, as any drug addict might, by snacking several times a day on high-calorie, highly processed, often dangerous so-called food. And just like a crack addict, all other considerations disappear. It's all gimme, 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 I need, I have to have it now. And all that pleasure seeking means we eat far more calories than we can use up, and it has to be stored as fat. It's often thought that it's because people are lazy that they don't get out and get active. But it turns out it's the other way round. It's the processed food and the mechanisms in the brain craving that food that makes us lethargic. And then you've got a vicious circle. So what am I saying? Know your onions. Know what you're eating. Is it real food that our bodies can use? Or does it come in a packet? Now, remember I said there were just 3 simple steps to losing weight and keeping it off. We've had a look at the first step. Filter out the noise. Now let's have a look at step 2. Make sense of your emotions. We've said that from an evolutionary point of view, we're hardwired to move towards pleasure and away from danger. So our natural state is feeling comfortable, feeling good. And of course, everybody needs something they can do to make themselves feel good. And that brings me to the next big problem of the 21st century. Stress. Let's not forget that we're meant to do stress. By that I mean we have a mechanism to kick us up a gear to deal with danger. And I mean real danger. Not the anxiety we feel when the boss is irate about our not handing in a report on time. The stress response is there for real emergencies. Remember, physiologically we're the same as when we lived in caves, when there was real danger lurking outside the cave. The hormones that prepared the body for the stressful encounter then, having done their job, would be metabolized and dissipated, leaving our ancestor calm and relaxed once more. Same mechanism now, remember, and yet we don't give ourselves time to calm down, do we? Let's face it, no sooner have we survived one bout of anxiety, we begin to react to the next problem. We dramatize the problem in our minds as though this event threatens our actual existence. So there we go, ricocheting from one stressful event to another, feeling as if we're barely coping, feeling overwhelmed, sometimes feeling helpless, and definitely not feeling good. Now, everybody has ways of making themselves feel better. Some of the things we do fulfill our needs perfectly. And as you know, some of the things that we do act more as a temporary distraction. They may not be the perfect fit, but they're what we know, and so they're what we do. Some people phone a friend and have a good moan. Some people go for a run or a brisk walk. Some people stroke the cat or play with the kids. Others, though, go shopping or to the pub or smoke or take drugs. There's a whole variety of things that we do to make ourselves feel better, the towards mechanism, and to distract us from the perceived source of pain, away from. Some of our solutions, though, turn out to be an even bigger issue than the problem it was meant to be solving. The more frequently we do the distracting behaviour to make ourselves feel good, the more likely it is to become a habit, which is controlled by your unconscious mind without your having to give it a second thought. Habits are useful. They allow us to have stuff running automatically so we can focus on the more unusual, interesting or important stuff. My clients never seek to remove habits, but simply to transform them, so they find themselves automatically doing healthier stuff. They don't have to think about it. It happens all by itself, and that's what makes all the difference. Eating can distract us from whatever it is that's bothering us. After all, there's only so much we can think about at once. Food also interferes with the way we experience our emotions. On a chemical level, food has been shown to dampen our feelings and simultaneously releases the hormone serotonin, the happy brain chemical. So what am I saying? Using food to make ourselves feel better is likely to end in tears. Better to find a healthy way to fulfill the need itself, and that leaves you free to develop healthier eating habits. Those of us of a certain age were born to parents who, while very young, remember the austerity of the Second World War. My mum remembers an interesting story from her childhood. She was quite young, and the war had been over for a few years, and she'd got wind of a delivery of bananas at the local grocer's shop. Bananas! Wow, bananas! What a treat! She ran home to get some money and ran back to the shop to join the queue. Yep, it was such a treat, people were willing to queue. I think the shopkeeper allowed them one banana each so that more families could benefit. You only get queues like that now at the Apple store, and I don't mean the fruit. I'm not saying my mum's family didn't have enough food. They had enough to eat all right, but food wasn't taken for granted either. It was totally appropriate for my mum to be taught to finish the food on her plate and not let it go to waste. And my mum, like so many of her generation, naturally enough, taught her children to do the same. I've grown up with it. It's part of my unconscious conditioning. I don't have to think about it. I automatically eat everything on my plate because I'm not paying attention to how hungry or how full I'm feeling. The messages I got growing up means eating everything's the obvious and normal thing to do, and I'd feel uncomfortable doing anything else. How about you? If you really could automatically stop eating when your body has had enough, and feel comfortable about leaving food on your plate, would that help you eat sensibly and to lose weight and get better health? We learn most of our behaviours and ways of coping with life from our families growing up. I don't know about you, but we used to sit around a table and eat dinner with the family. Did you when you were a child? Do you now? Or do you have your meal on your lap while watching the TV? Does your family eat together, or as and when someone gets hungry and to fit in with everyone's social life? I caught this picture while watching a documentary about American families. Look what this lot are eating. I was shocked to see their choice of food, but let's not pretend this doesn't happen in the UK too. Takeaway, aka junk food, is often much cheaper and sold in cleaner premises in many parts of the world. Eating healthily is thought to cost about £1 or $1.50 more per person per day. What do you suppose these children will serve for dinner when they have their own families? Now then, the brain is a complex animal. For all our sophisticated science, much of it still remains a mystery. Fortunately, for our purposes, there are just 3 areas we're interested in. And the roles of these 3 areas are very elegantly described by Dr. Steve Peters in The Chimp Paradox. The part of the brain that makes sense of information coming in through the senses, what you see, hear, taste, etc., he calls the computer. The emotional brain, the part that tells us how we feel, he calls the chimp. Let's make that a girl chimp. That's better. Incidentally, neuroscientists have shown that people who have damaged the emotional part of their brain and therefore don't know how they feel about things simply cannot make decisions. It turns out that to make a decision we have to know how we feel about that decision. I suspect that some people think that the emotional part of the brain is a hindrance to them, and that the more analytical and rational they can be, the more control they'll have over their lives. That's not true either. Okay, so if you're the sort of person who's run by wild and uncontrollable emotions, you do well to spend more time using your cool, rational brain. But we need all 3 parts to be fully competent. And the third part we want to look at, Dr. Steve calls the human, the real you, where you live in your head. Excuse me, missus. Thank you. These 3 brains try to work together. They are, of course, connected to each other, and they're all trying to make sense of the world and keep you safe. But they frequently do battle with each other, each struggling to gain control over the others. Guess which one often wins? Yep, the chimp, the limbic or emotional brain. Each has a different agenda, a different mode of thinking, and a different way of operating. Each can do its thing without our conscious knowledge, and each makes decisions for us. The chimp delivers our thoughts and feelings, which can be very useful or terribly destructive. It can be your best friend and your worst enemy at the same time. You know what I mean. Sometimes there seems to be more than one of you in your head. When you talk to yourself, when you act contrary to how you intend to, when you decide to go on a diet and just can't stick to your plan. When this happens, and it happens to all of us, brain scans will show an extra blood supply going to the chimp part of your brain, which proves that it really is the emotional part that's currently winning the battle. This explains, doesn't it, when you get wound up and say things you regret later. It explains why you can't stop eating or why you don't exercise when you really, really want to, but just can't seem to get your act together. Your act, of course, being played out by the three players in your head: the chimp, the human, and the computer. Dr. Steve Peters likens the chimp to owning a dog. You're not responsible for the personality of the dog, but you are responsible for keeping it well behaved, for managing it. When you improve your ability to recognize when your chimp is hijacking you and your thoughts and your feelings and your behavior, you can begin to distinguish your human, that's to say you, from your chimp, and that's to say the emotional part of your brain, which you need, of course, but which you don't want taking over. So let's have a look at what does happen when we react when something stresses us. Remember, it's a healthy response, and it's meant to be uncomfortable. Aggression, impatience, depression, anxiety, they're all there to alert us to something being wrong and to do something about it, to keep ourselves safe. However, the first reaction to stress will be a chimp one. It's important to recognise that, and to accept it as normal and healthy. It might even save your life. But usually, as we all know, whatever's going on isn't a life or death situation, and our emotional reaction gets in the way then of thinking straight. But the useful thing to know is that a split second before the emotional chimp reacts, it quickly looks into the computer before reacting. So if the computer's got a plan, the chimp will let the computer get on with it. Hurrah! So what am I saying? You need to recognise when the chimp is reacting. You need to slow down your thinking, step back and get perspective. You need to have a well-rehearsed plan in place. And I've got all sorts of tricks up my sleeve if you want help with that. I'll tell you about one of them later. When you use more of your emotional intelligence and deal better with stress, you won't have to use food to make yourself feel better. Remember I said there are just 3 simple steps to achieving genuine and permanent weight loss. We've had a look at step 1, filter out the noise so you can see the wood for the trees. Step 2, make sense of your emotions and leave you free to really enjoy your food. The final step, step 3, is to tune into your brain power. Remember, we said we need a plan to kick in automatically in times of stress to stop your chimp taking over. You could do a lot worse than learn an invaluable relaxation technique, which goes under many names, such as mindfulness, meditation, relaxation. Meditation has beneficial effects on the brain which can be measured in an fMRI machine. Meditation is being learnt in offices and in schools, and for many it just seems like second nature and common sense. The good news is, research tells us you can learn how to do it quickly and easily. Just 15 minutes a day, and after about 8 weeks you'll get the same benefits as people who have practiced all their lives. Of course, knowing and doing are 2 different things, aren't they? So I'll tell you an easy way to enjoy that daily 15 minutes at the end of the webinar. Most people don't realise how very strong their unconscious mind is. It doesn't matter how much willpower you have and how clever you are with the conscious part of your brain, because your unconscious mind is so much stronger. You need a way to tune in to your brain power. And one way to do that is through self-hypnosis. Fewer people these days think of hypnosis as some sort of spooky mind control, thank goodness. Fortunately, most people realise that we all naturally fall into what we would call a hypnotic trance several times a day, every day. It's perfectly natural. Anytime you've found yourself daydreaming, you're demonstrating this point. But during those moments, you're actually in the ideal learning state and perfectly placed to retrain the unconscious, automatic part of your brain. But you don't know how to do it? No probs. I take care of the technical stuff. All you need to do is follow along comfortably. If you'd like me to help you, we can reprogram your unconscious mind to eat less, move more, make healthy food choices, enjoy your food properly, sleep better, and feel better. Sounds good, eh? Exercise. Don't groan. We're all aware that we should be moving more. But the good news is that thrashing ourselves at the gym, flogging yourself at the next Ironman contest, it's just not necessary. In fact, it's actually bad for you. Recent research tells us you're more likely to end up with a pacemaker if you've been doing marathons and triathlons all your life. Oops. Look, I'll tell you what, just forget everything you've been told about exercise for a minute and let's go back to the beginning. Cast your mind back to when you were a kid. You were probably far more active back then. I'm sad to say I've never had children of my own, but I have tried to hold on to friends' babies for them for a while. Struth! Wriggly creatures, unless they're comatose, of course. And there's a lesson for us. Wouldn't it be great if we could sleep like a baby again? I'll tell you how later. I've even got that covered. Now, where was I? Unless they're fast asleep, and it's like a switch for them, isn't it? They're either awake or deado. Boom, out for the count. Anyway, the point is, they don't half wriggle. Not like a cat peacefully sitting on your lap. Oh no. Babies, you've got to keep a tight grip on them. Wriggle, wriggle, wriggle. And that's just for starters. Wait till they start crawling around. They're into everything. You can't take your eyes off them or they'll be gone. But they're not moving because they're thinking, I must get some exercise and keep my heart healthy. No, they're simply moving around because there's so much interesting stuff and they've just got to go and play with it. As kids, our natural curiosity and energy had us moving around all the time. Wouldn't it be great if you found yourself now naturally following your interests and in the process found yourself moving around more and having the energy to do it? Back to evolution again. Our brains developed hundreds of thousands of years ago when our ancestors were on the move, crossing the African savanna. Neuroscientists believe that you can't have a healthy, efficient brain without moving your body. And they've linked our sedentary lifestyles with greater incidence of depression and low mood. That makes sense too, doesn't it? Our brains need oxygen to function. Exercise gets more oxygen into the system, and it also moves the blood that carries the nutrients to your cells. Moving is the only thing that moves lymph around, which mops up and disposes of the detritus left by each cell's metabolic processes. In other words, the waste products, which you definitely don't want hanging around, making everything sluggish. Think you lack motivation? Just notice that babies and grown-ups too don't need motivation to do the things they want to do. Why not? Because they're already doing them. Come on, you know what I mean. You want to go to the pub. You want to go out for a meal. You want to go out shopping. Somehow you find the time. We're all the same. So a really good quality question to ask yourself is, if there was something I could do on a regular basis that I'd really enjoy and consider it a treat, that would get my body moving a bit more than it is now, what would it be? Because any movement, no matter how small, is better than none. So just do something. And remember the 80-20 rule. What 20% could you do that would make 80% difference? By doing something, anything, things will begin to change for you. And from that new position where you are the sort of person now who does something, you might ask yourself the question again. If there was something I could do now on a regular basis that I would really enjoy and consider it a treat that would get my body moving a bit more than it is now, what would it be? Get it? Choose something you want to do and take it gently. For those of you who, after this webinar, decide to turn over a new leaf, you'll be interested to know that there are 2 easy, safe, enjoyable things I recommend you do that'll get you going. They're not hard work. You won't even sweat. They'll make you feel good and will have you looking forward to doing them. Really, it works like magic. So if until now exercise hasn't been your thing, don't fret. Let me help you change that. What am I saying? Move more. Now, you may not realise it, but sleep plays a crucial part in the equation too. And again, if we think about it, we shouldn't be surprised. We have the same physical and emotional needs as we had all those years ago when we lived in caves. Okay, our circumstances have changed enormously. We're much safer than we were 10,000 years ago. It's unlikely that we'll get eaten by a wild animal in the night. So you'd have thought we could sleep more soundly. However, bet you anything you like, our ancestors didn't have all the technology we've got bombarding us all day and all night. So it would have been easier for them to simply relax and drift off to sleep. Meanwhile, we race around all day and in the evening too, and if not, we might be slumped in front of the TV. But what's on the TV? Men rushing around with guns, jumping out from behind walls, people being scared, anxious, threatened and attacked. That's what passes these days for good evening's entertainment. And we get pulled into the drama as though it's happening to us. You've heard of mirror neurons, right? They form the part of the brain which empathises with other people. When they cry, we cry. When they're excited, we become excited. When they're scared, so are we. So if you're not careful, by the time you switch off the TV, you're emotionally wrung out. And then you expect to put your head on the pillow and go straight off to sleep. Did I mention smartphones and tablets? Addictive as they are, don't imagine for one moment that they're not causing a problem. You see, we evolved in sync with the natural cycle of day and night, and the quality of daylight changes through the day, literally becoming softer and more red in the evening before it disappears. This signals the brain that it's time to get sleepy and to nod off. But in this day and age, artificial light keeps us active well into the evening. And the quality of the light from our smartphones, tablets and low-energy light bulbs is much bluer and is signalling to our brain that it's still daytime, that we need to stay awake. Shift work messes with our natural rhythms too. A report by the British Medical Journal concluded there's a high incidence of stroke and heart attack associated with shift work, and the World Health Organization declared in 2007 it probably contributes to the increasing number of people with cancer. In 1999, it was found by scientists at Chicago University that sleep problems contribute to obesity. Not getting enough sleep, even for a few days, impairs metabolism and disrupts hormone levels. It means you need to make 30% more insulin to keep your blood sugar levels normal. Lack of sleep is known to be the royal route to obesity and is particularly detrimental to women and children. Some scientists even believe that sleep is more important than exercise for weight loss. Listen to this, and I think you'll agree. Not getting enough sleep makes you ravenously hungry because your hormone leptin, that's the one that tells you you're full, it goes down by 15%. Meanwhile, ghrelin, the hormone that tells you you're hungry, goes up by nearly the same amount. And so you develop cravings for sugar and carbohydrates, which easily turn into an addiction, which is identical to any other drug addiction as far as the brain is concerned. When your leptin goes down, so do your hormones that your thyroid makes, and your metabolic rate with it. The upshot? You burn fewer calories. You probably don't know this, but most of the fat you burn happens at night. That's why you get hotter. The excess calories are burned up and the energy is released as heat. Also, while all of this is going on, the fat already in your fat cells gets locked in rather than let out to be burnt. Great. Oh, and if this wasn't enough, lack of sleep occurs to the body as a threat to survival and so releases cortisol, the stress hormone. It's long been known that more cortisol equals bigger tummies. You don't imagine for one moment we've finished, do you? Your brain needs sleep to work efficiently. Research at the University of Rochester showed that during sleep the brain flushes out the toxins created by the work it does during the day. And they're quite toxic. If they build up, not only can you not think straight, you can't see straight either. Oh, and then there's the mood swings, and the oxidative stress, and inflammation thought to be behind Alzheimer's and age-related diseases. And you age faster. Youthing hormones repair and rejuvenate when we're asleep. No wonder we look haggard and old after a rubbish night's sleep. Shall I go on, or have you heard enough? You need to create yourself a more natural environment that helps your body to know what it's supposed to be doing, and get on then with its own intuitive processes. So there might be several tweaks you can make to your environment that will make all the difference. It's known as sleep hygiene, which I think is a funny expression. Here's something you can do which will help. Think cave. Make sure your bedroom is dark. Get blackout lining fabric for your curtains or blackout blinds. Many of us live with street lamps outside the window, and even those of us who are in the country will be affected by the light when the moon is bright and the light in the early hours of the morning. Where else is there light coming into your room? Standby buttons on TVs, computers, light coming from telephones, alarm clocks. Do an audit of your room. You don't want that light telling your brain that it's time to wake up. Sleep goes in cycles, and every hour and a half or so you'll be sleeping very lightly, and that's probably the time that any light can just push you over the edge and wake you up. And how we sleep becomes a habit. You'll know this from your own experience. If you start waking up at 2 in the morning, you tend to continue to wake up at 2 in the morning, and it becomes a difficult habit to change. So whatever you do, you need to stick with it. Don't necessarily expect to have an instant result, and of course you might. So what am I saying? I'm saying that long enough and good enough quality sleep is crucial to our health. I'm also saying that lack of good enough sleep makes us put on weight. We have the same needs that our ancestors did 10,000 years ago, and we'll find it easier to fall asleep and stay asleep and get a good night's rest the more we mimic the significant features of their environment. There are plenty of other things you can do which will all contribute to better health and happiness. It all adds up. I can vouch for the following people. Laurel Rond, who through her musical talents will retune your brain to let go of negative beliefs about your weight and have you so relaxed you'll think you're floating. Laura de la Harpe, an experienced nutritionist who will help you get rid of food intolerances and allergies. Very often this in itself will have you drop half a stone. She's a metabolic balance coach, as is Rachel McGuinness, who will not only help you assess your lifestyle, but will help you discover how much fun you can have cooking good, nutritious food. And like Laura, and through the Metabolic Balance Program and guided exercise, will tailor what you eat to your own body's specific requirements. So those are the 3 simple steps to permanent and natural weight loss and better health to boot. We've covered step 1, filter out the noise. Stop listening to all that misinformation so you can see the wood for the trees. Step 2, make sense of your emotions and leave you free to really enjoy your food. Step 3, tune into your amazing brain power for fast and effective change. Now, I imagine that some of you are thinking, I need some help, I need to change my behaviour, but I don't know how. And I know how frustrating it is when it seems that nothing works and the problem just gets worse and worse. But for me, the frustration is compounded by being bombarded with misinformation from advertising by companies who care about their profits, not about our health. I realise that as time goes by, we know and understand more. We've got more sophisticated machines and better science, of course. It's bad luck that we didn't know some of this information before, but that's just the way of it. What makes me really angry is when companies know better, but keep the facts covered up for their own gain and to our detriment. I suppose it's taken me a while to wise up to their tactics. When I was a kid, the powers that be recommended eating 6 slices of bread a day. Turns out the authority in question was the Bread Marketing Board. Is it possible that they had an interest in how much bread was eaten? Then there was the Go to Work on an Egg campaign. That was, of course, the Egg Marketing Board. Remember the Potato Marketing Board? The Milk Marketing Board? Don't let's even mention the Tripe Marketing Board. Oh, and there was even a sugar advert, withdrawn eventually, suggesting that an ice cream cone before lunch would help you lose weight. I'm not making this up. All of these agencies were set up to market their own product in order to persuade us to eat more of it so they could bump up the prices and have us pay more for it. So I don't know why I'm so gobsmacked that food companies can sell us food containing nasty chemicals and the diet industry promote fat-free, sugar-free as though it's a good thing. It's no wonder we're all over the place doing our damnedest to make sense of the noise and failing to stay slim and healthy. I know you need to succeed, and that's why we're here. I know you need to lose weight. You want to look slim and healthy, and you want to be healthy now and in the future. But you don't want to have to work hard at it. You don't want to have to spend all your day counting calories or points or reading ingredients. You want a simple plan that you can use anywhere, at home, at work, when you go out to restaurants, when you're eating with the kids, when you're in a hurry and have to eat on the run. You want to enjoy your food, really enjoy it, guilt-free, because there's nothing to be guilty about. You don't want to be hungry, and you've definitely had it with diets. Well, I've designed programs to address all the problems we've talked about. It works. But you don't have to believe me. Here's what others have said about automatic weight loss. Here's what one of my workshop attendees said. Amazingly, I haven't felt hungry. I'm just getting fuller faster. I've been able to leave a little bit of food on my plate because I know I'm full, so it's definitely working for me. I'm doing a lot of exercise, and with the new eating patterns, it's been wonderful because I'm not hungry. Now, I'm afraid I've forgotten who it was who said it. It could have been any of them because they've all got great results. Maybe if you're the one who said this and you're listening to this webinar, you can let me know. The techniques the people at the workshops used are the ones you'll be using because they work after automatic weight loss. I've lost a couple of pounds already. I'm exercising more and eating better. I have to admit my relationship with food has changed a lot since starting your class. Thank you for your help. Before, I needed help with weight loss, but I realised my weight was only part of it. After, I became more confident, self-assured, and realised I was always trying to please everyone else except myself. Now I feel healthy and complete. I know it's important to love yourself. After, as for leaving food on my plate, I find it's just automatic now. I don't even think about it. I realise I've had enough and put my fork down. I've lost a stone in weight without feeling deprived of anything. I eat when I want and what I want. What's more, my doctor told me that my blood pressure and cholesterol levels are down to normal. She couldn't believe it and wanted to know how I'd done it. So here's what Dr. Richard Bandler, co-founder of NLP, has to say about the best way to learn new habits. Human beings learn automatically. In fact, human beings learn best when they learn fast and when they learn to make things automatic so that the behaviour can run automatically. And Paul McKenna? The truth is that it's nearly impossible to break a habit with willpower alone. You have to reprogram your mind. So that's exactly what I'm proposing to do with you. Is it okay if I tell you about my automatic weight loss programs? As you can see, I've got 3 automatic weight loss programs to offer you. As I explain what they contain, how they work, and the differences between them, I hope to put you in a position where you can make an informed decision. It's okay with me if you decide these programs are not for you, but it's not okay with me if you give up on yourself and stop trying. So, Jumpstart then. This is the entry program, the starter pack if you like. To give you the best chance of weight loss and optimum health, you need to take care of stress, you need to move more, get longer, better sleep, and change your behaviour around food. And so, what we've got is Sleep Genius, an audio track, a guided visualisation to help you drop off to sleep, to a deep and restful sleep. It'll train you to let go of the day's concerns and to systematically relax your body and brain to get to sleep quicker and to stay asleep until it's time to wake up in the morning, refreshed and raring to go. I bet it's been a while since you've woken up feeling rejuvenated. Wouldn't it be great to feel excited and motivated each morning? This track has a value of £30. Move It. 2 little secrets about exercise. A PDF telling you exactly what to do, how to do it, and what resources will automatically have you looking forward to gentle exercise and enjoying the freedom and health that comes with moving more. It's all about having fun, no pain necessary. Valued at £20. Stress Buster. A short audio track guiding you through a life-saving technique that's easy to do anywhere, anytime, and no one needs to know you're doing it. Everyone should have access to this technology. It's that important to our health. I'm really not exaggerating when I say it can save your life, and I have the science to prove it. You can imagine you can't put a price on something like this. It's priceless. However, let's be generous and call it £20. Automatic Weight Loss. A guided self-hypnosis audio using your clever unconscious mind to help you change your behaviour around food for the better. Automatically eating more healthily without giving it a second thought. So, for example, if you already know that there's one thing that you repeatedly do that's part of the reason you can't lose weight, that'll probably be the first thing your unconscious mind will look to change for you. Imagine the difference that'll make to the effort you're already making to lose weight. The value of this track is £30. So that constitutes the Jumpstart programme, and that would be enough to help you on your way. But I know how you love to know categorically that you have everything covered. And so I'm going to throw in some fabulous bonuses too. Self-esteem. It's an AUL audio. Most people, understandably, have a dented and damaged view of themselves, partly because they've come to believe that nothing they can do can make a difference that they need, and they feel pretty low about it, and partly because they hear other people hinting or even telling them directly that they're obviously eating too much and exercising too little, like it's their fault. That's ignorance talking, and it hurts. This track will help you repair the damage and make you feel good about yourself again. It's an automatic unconscious learning audio track, an AUL. It's a very pleasant track which you can listen to sitting or lying down comfortably. And you can also, if you'd like to, listen to it while going about your daily activities. It works on your whole brain by encouraging both your logical and creative brains, the conscious and unconscious parts of your brain, to learn new information and behaviour. Its value is £30. Sleep Secrets video. You might think that sleeping like a log should be as easy as falling off a log, only in your dreams. Many people inadvertently create an environment which helps to keep them awake and then wonder why it's so hard to get to sleep. This video of common sense information will allow you to understand what we need as human beings to support good, restful, rejuvenating sleep. Adopt these better habits, adapt your environment, and you'll sleep like a baby. Valued at £30. Future You audio. This is a guided visualization audio track. It helps to prime your unconscious mind to make consistently good decisions on your behalf, to take you to a future where you are your ideal weight and health. It acts to show your brain in a form that it understands exactly what you want to achieve, so you find yourself automatically acting in ways that support your goal. Value £30. Magic Formula PDF. I can't tell you too much about this secret weapon, just to say this PDF acts as a constant reminder to pay attention to what your body is telling you, helping you to retrain your brain and hormones to achieve a much more natural state in your body. This makes sure you never deprive yourself and never go hungry. It's valued at £10. And this is a total value of £200. That's about $300 US. You get 5 audios, 3 PDFs and a video. And remember, they're all electronic downloads. You get them instantly. There's no waiting for the post to arrive. You'll be charged in pounds sterling wherever you are in the world. Everything you need is here. It's a fully do-it-yourself program. I send you the resources and you take responsibility for implementing them. And it works. I've got a very special offer just for people who attend my webinar, because I want to do whatever it takes to help you get the results you deserve. So I want to make sure that money isn't an issue when you decide to let me help you. I want this to be a no-brainer. So while the Jumpstart Do-It-Yourself program is how many people like to work, and that might be how you like to work too, for those of you who prefer the additional support of someone like me to ease you through the process, I've got another option for you. It's the Fast Track program. It includes all of the Jumpstart program and its bonuses and adds to it some extra resources for you. Healthy Choices. This is an AUL audio track, an automatic unconscious learning track, which you can listen to sitting or lying down or while you're doing anything else. I've designed this audio to deliver appropriate positive messages tailored specifically to how each of the 2 hemispheres of your brain learns best. You'll soon find yourself automatically choosing healthy food over problematic food just because you prefer it and because you wouldn't dream of putting into your body anything other than healthy food. Value £30. Let stress go. Now then, if you haven't come across this technique before, it's going to be a revelation to you. I first came across it while in a health workshop at Tony Robbins Resort in Fiji. I was so amazed by it, I was thoroughly shocked that more people didn't know about it. Now, many, many years later, more people have come across it, but still not as many people as I'd like. This will probably become your go-to strategy for letting go of stress and all the negative thoughts we have around it. It works like a dream. It's a PDF and you can't put a price on it. However, for the purpose of this exercise, we'll value it at £35. Release weight. The same technique will allow you to process and release all the emotional stuff that gets in the way of your achieving optimal weight and health. You know the stuff I mean. The negative thoughts, the negative chatter in your head, the damage done by things other people have said or done. It all impacts on your sense of who you are and what you can achieve. You already know that we all have to have ways of making ourselves feel better, and for many of us, comfort eating is a part of our overweight problem. The guidance on this PDF will allow you to deal more effectively with the emotional aspect of weight loss, leaving you free to eat what you want and never go hungry, while at the same time letting the excess weight finally slip away for good. Value £35. But hold on, I hear you cry. Where's the support from someone like me that I mentioned was part of this package? Well, you won't be disappointed. It's there in the bonuses. So let me tell you about those now. Group coaching. On the Fast Track program, you'll be invited to take part in group coaching via online webinars like this one, where you'll be able to ask me questions, let me know how you're getting on and where your challenges are, and you'll be able to benefit from the coaching that I give other people in the group too. Together, we'll be able to support each other, encourage each other, and help each other keep going and achieve success. Research shows us that people thrive in a supportive environment. Let's face it, it took a long time to put the weight on. It'll take some time to let go of it again. And most people find that they keep going towards their goal when they spend time with other like-minded people on the same journey. You're welcome to attend for a full 3 months. If that doesn't get you off to a good solid flying start, I don't know what will. When you're unable to make it in person, you'll have access to the recording made available immediately afterwards to listen in your own time. If you know in advance that you won't be able to make it and you have a burning question or something you simply have to share, email me in advance and I'll make sure it's covered. Value £180. Group support. In addition, we'll have our own group on Facebook. Again, for 3 months you can talk to me and each other, swap ideas and recipes, and we'll all generally keep each other encouraged and motivated. This has a value of £60. So the whole programme is worth £540. That's about 810 American dollars. So what you get in the Fast Track program then is all of the elements of the Jumpstart program and the Jumpstart bonuses worth £200, plus the Fast Track program and the Fast Track bonuses worth another £340, £540 in total. That's about 810 US dollars. You won't get any CDs and booklets in the post, remember, you download them straight after you've bought them. But as you know, I really want to help make a difference. And so I've got an amazing offer for this program too. But before I tell you about that, let me tell you about the final program I've got for you, and then you'll know which one is for you. Because if you're anything like me, you won't be happy until you've signed up for the full Monty. When I decide to do something, I mean really do something, I dot all the I's and cross all the T's. I do everything I can at my end to make sure that what's being offered works for me, with no chance of my slipping through a crack. It's how I get stuff done. I throw my hat over that wall, so there's nothing else for it but for me to climb the wall and get my hat back. In other words, to get the result I've committed to because I've deleted all the other options. So, the icing on the cake is the Personal Accelerator program. For those of you who want to leave no stone unturned and none of your excess stones unlost. You'll get everything we've talked about so far. Plus, with Personal Accelerator, you also have one-to-one coaching with me. This will give you the personal attention, coaching and therapy, accountability and challenges to stretch you and move you forward as fast as is safe and healthy for you. You'll be able to blast through personal issues that are currently in the way of your success. Your one-to-one coaching will be over Skype or telephone every fortnight for 3 months. That means it doesn't matter where in the world you are, we'll schedule your coaching to the most convenient time for us, and we'll move heaven and earth together to have you on the right path to achieve your weight loss goal. The usual cost of this precious one-to-one time together would be £600. That's about $900. And so the total value of the Personal Accelerator program with the one-to-one coaching is £1,140. That's about $1,710. Again, everything is conducted electronically, so you don't need to go anywhere or wait for anything. Everything can be accessed via computer, smartphone, and tablet. So to recap, the Jumpstart program and the Jumpstart bonuses. You get the Fast Track program and the Fast Track bonuses, and you get in the Accelerator program all of that and valuable time with me. I know you'll finally be able to make a difference with these programs. You'll be able to filter out the noise, make sense of your emotions, and tune into your brain power to finally release the weight that's been plaguing you for so long. So, the investment? Let's have a look at those special prices I mentioned, just for you, for attending my webinar. Oh, but first, for your reassurance, of course, I have a cast iron guarantee. Again, I want to remove any obstacle to your achieving success and coming on board this program. If at the end of 30 days you decide you're not convinced that it's value for money, for whatever reason, just send me an email and I'll refund your investment immediately. I can offer this guarantee because I know how well the program works. You won't want to stop using it because you won't want to stop achieving the results you've become accustomed to achieving. I know this, but you don't know it yet. So I'm going to make it a no-brainer for you and put all the risk on me. So you've got nothing to lose except, of course, wait. Only for the next 2 hours, you can get Jumpstart, not for £200, but for £49. You can get Fast Track, not for £540, but for £99. And you can get Accelerator, not for £1,140, but for £299. But I want you to take action, so be quick, because the discount code I'm about to give you will expire in 2 hours from the end of this webinar. It's decision time. All you have to do now is make up your mind which program is right for you and go to my website to buy it. Use the discount code WEBINAR OFFER. Lowercase, all one word. Watch the spelling. Webinar offer. You'll see the usual prices on the page, so use the special code webinar offer on your way to the checkout to claim your massive discount. The offer will close in exactly 2 hours' time. You'll still be able to buy the program, but at the prices shown on the page. I'm putting a time limit for 2 reasons. I want you to take action now. I also want to make sure that I have enough quality time for those of you who have bought the program. I don't know about you, but I've sometimes bought from people who don't have the capacity nor the motivation to follow through with the support they promised. I'll do better than that, and I'll be there for you when you need me. So as a consequence, I obviously have to limit each intake. I also want to work with people who are ready to make those changes, not people who need to think about it any longer. By the way, since you're still here and you've stuck it out to the bitter end, I will email you, as promised, the thank you for attending gift. So make sure you look out for an email from info@soundspositive.com. Meanwhile, go to my shop and remember to use the code WEBINAROFFER. Be quick. The offer stands for 2 hours from now. Thank you very much for attending my weight loss webinar. I look forward to meeting you on the other side. Ta-ta for now.